disable everything and click go live. Okay. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Tropin, and you may know me for RD and guix home projects, or maybe some other way. I solve problems and explore the world, and it usually involves free and open source software. Today's topic will be related to scheme development. We will continue implementing the serializer from scheme to nginx configuration. We already done a lot of work on previous streams, but I will recap what was done on previous streams before we begin, and also I will show you the initial setup I use to actually start my development environment. So I even will restart the emacs instance from the ground up, so you can see everything that I do to start the development. Actually, hello Anton. Let me open a chat window so I can read comments from time to time. Oops. Pop out chat. Let's go. It's here. So you can write in IRC, in Tropin channel, or in YouTube chat as well, and I will be reading them from time to time. Okay, I guess I can close this window. This window is alright. And let's start from the opening project. I will open a file with nginx serializer code. It looks like this. In addition to that, I need to start a REPL process. For this, I will call make REPL, which executes the following command: preinst env pass to the guix, and a REPL with appropriate load passes. Actually, the preinst env also sets some load passes, and in addition to that, we add tests directory to the load pass, so the models with tests is available for our REPL as well. And we start a REPL on a TCP port, so we can connect to it from Geyser using our Geyser connect command. And now we see we have a REPL, and we can evaluate some code here. And actually it's a remote connection to the REPL, to the local host at port 37 146, something like this. Okay, very nice. Let's recap what was done. I didn't stream for a while, and I didn't touch this code for a while as well, but I committed a tooling that I use for executing tests to RD repository. So right now I can evaluate this model, and I can call either run model tests, and it actually executes all the tests and show me the report here. And we see that there is one test which is expected to fail, and it will be our task for today to fix this test, or at least figure out the way we will fix it. Talking about nginx configuration and why we need a serialization from scheme to nginx. We already discussed this topic on previous streams, but I will repeat. We use guix. In guix, we have an ability to declare the whole operating system using a scheme code. And one of the things that you can do with guix is to declare some configurations for programs, and for our example it will be nginx, and you need to define this configuration in some way. And the way I picked is to create a serialization from lists and vectors to the actual config file for nginx. And from this code it's not clear how it works, but luckily we have nginx tests model, which have all the examples, not all, but some of the examples, which demonstrates how the serialization works. And the most obvious one, probably something like this, or something like this. This one is quite simple, and we see how it works. We have a context, which contains a few items. In our case, it's allocation context for the root, and inside this context we define a few statements looking like this, and the result will be something like this. Here you see a nested list which narrows the context. For example, here I narrows to location root context, and inside this nested context we have a few statements, which is also a nested list, which contains our statements as lists. And here we also use an if, which uses a vector. Sharp open parenthesis is the beginning of the vector, and inside this vector we have a few statements which should be evaluated to true or false according to the way nginx evaluates it. But it's not very important right now, because it will be a task of nginx for our serializer. We don't have to care too much about the meaning of the stuff. We just need to provide a tool that allows to declare arbitrary nginx configuration using scheme language. Hello, Grigory. Nice to see you here. Okay, we see that we have one expected to fail test, which is called indentation of G expressions. Let's see, indentation of G expressions. And what we expect here, we expect that configuration which contains one context which called A and a few nested statements. First one is a list of one G expression, and the second one is just a plain G expression. And first one we expect to be indented, by the second one should be placed as it is without any indentation. And it's a reasonable request, I guess, because G expressions allows to include some very tricky parts, maybe some code which generates some tricky parts of the configuration, and it's actually an escape hatch which allows to implement anything, which allows to bypass some limitations of our serializer. Our serializer is quite generic, but sometimes we can, for example, include the part of configuration from the file. For this case, we will need to read the content of this file and place it in a configuration somewhere. And for example, here we can do something like read from file and here will be local file nginx part.conf. I would like to be able to do something like this in case I would like to include already written nginx configuration inside my scheme code, and at the end to generate a complete configuration including this part. This is why we need this escape hatch. And for people who are not familiar with G expressions, it's a mechanism provided by guix, which allows to declare an expression which will be evaluated on the build daemon, on guix daemon, and it can capture the dependencies of the code inside it. It's like quasi-quote, but with dependencies captured. For example, you can provide some guile libraries or packages, some references to the packages which will be built, and instead of the package object, it will be inserted a string which contains a path to the store item and all other stuff. And if it is still unclear what the expression is, I advise you to read the manual, a guix manual, and maybe a guix blog. It contains a few nice articles about the expressions, and also probably some previous streams on my channel also discuss this topic in more details. But today we're focusing on the serializer part, and the expression is not that important, and we can just treat it as a constant string in this case. Grigory trying to find most beautiful emojis available in YouTube chat. Okay, let's open the serialization code. I'm a little bit rusty and don't remember how we implemented it, but we'll figure it out very soon. Actually, the entry point here is serialize nginx context, which should return a list of strings which can be concatenated, and the final result will appear. And the list of strings looks like this, and it contains both indentation, like this one, new lines and other stuff which prettifies the resulting configuration and makes it human readable. And let's see how it idents the expressions. I guess this test should be enough to check if we implemented the indentation of the expressions correctly. I think so. And other test should be enough to make sure that we didn't break any other functionality. So let's see at the entry point, serialize nginx configuration, nginx context. It accepts a context definition in scheme code, and also it has an optional parameter which is nestness. By default, the nestness is equal to 0. It's obvious because, you know, the root context should start with no spaces at the beginning. After that, we match context against this pattern, which should look like this. Expressions, it's like a few expressions, a few nested lists inside one bigger list. Okay, it's this one is expression, I guess. So it can be a few different expressions like b cd, something like this. Let's evaluate this namespace and let's see the result. Okay, it returns an error because it doesn't know how to treat this code. Let's correct it for a while. And we can see how the result looks like. And we actually can use a function for printing this result. Okay. That's good. We have everything evaluated correctly. We have indentation correct. But let's remove those parentheses. And let's make it fail again. Okay, it fails on this G expression because it probably expects that it will be also a nested list inside the context body. Hello, Kadir. Nice to see you here. Let's explore how nginx expression gets serialized. We got a list of expressions like this one and this one here using this pattern matching. After that, we iterate over this list of expressions and put together a few spaces here. Aligner is a function which just returns a string with a number of spaces specified here, or at least proportional to the number of nestness. And also it adds the result of serialization of nginx expression. And let's see how nginx expression gets serialized. Whoa. Pam pam. Serialize nginx expression. Here we have another pattern matching for expression. And the first pattern consists of element and nested context, like this. This one will be matched against element, and this will be matched as a nested context. Okay, what we do here? We serialize nginx element, so we take this b and serialize it according to this function. After that, we place a space and open curly braces and new line and serialize a nested nginx context. And we increase the nestness. Okay, the nested context should be aligned a little bit more than parent context, which is logical. And after that, we place a closing curly braces aligned for the nestness of the current value. Okay, that's right. Looks correct to me. And again, we have nginx, serialized nginx context here. So good so far, quite clear code. Probably we will need to update the implementation of this function. But before that, let's see what happens when we have a few elements here. We use another pattern matching, which matches A, B, C, D, E, F, such thing. And element will be matched as a B, and the rest, C, D, E, F, will be matched as a rest. And here we do the simple trick. We serialize the first element, add a space, and serialize everything else. Like this. Looks logical. Looks good so far. So we basically convert this case to two cases. First one when we serialized B. Let's say it's serialized. And now we look at this case. And at the end, after repeating this process a few times, we will get the case when we need serialize only this case, which already described here. Okay, this is how we serialize this part, like the beginning. Also, we have cases when we have one element. Okay, cool. I understood what is written in this code. It's funny when you look at your code like a few months ago, months later, and understanding it quite good. It's pretty nice. That means that probably code was written well enough, so you can understand how it works after some time. This works for the case with a nested context, but also it works for the case when you have something like this, which should be transformed to B, C, D, E, semicolon at the end. Good. This pattern solves both those cases, with nested context and without. And if you have a nested context, it will be handled here. And if it doesn't have a nested context, it will be handled here. And if we get some other structure, we throw an exception. Good. What if we encounter a G expression here? So probably I can just match it here like this. How it's done? Do I have something like this? Okay, G expression. And I guess I put it here like this, or maybe a list. Probably I also need to add a \n here. Let's try it out. Okay, it was evaluated successfully and nothing broken so far. Very good, very good. Probably it doesn't work. It still doesn't work because the test still fails. Let's see. Let's remove this unnecessary part. Let's see how it looks. It still fails with expected vector and got G expression. Because probably we never come to this moment and we fails earlier. It was a good attempt, but it didn't work because our nested context will go to serialize nginx context function first, and here it will be treated somehow. And it will fail somewhere later. Okay, context should be either a list of expressions or mixed list of expressions and G expressions. Okay, what we can do, let's define a predicate which will be called context item. It should be either list or G expression, right? Here we can also define a context expression predicate which accepts an item or element or whatever we call it. Let's call it x here and another x here, which doesn't have any meaning but should be good. And every context item list. Okay, our context, let's call it context body, I guess. Context body should be a list where every item either context should be context item, and context item is either list or G expression. Sounds good. Sounds good. And here we will change it to context body expressions like this. Is it still works? No, it fails, like fails quite a lot. It passes only 12 tests, and now it fails 9 tests. Very good that we can automatically catch it. Quite useful. Let's see what failed here. By the way, what about our test that we're trying to fix G expression? Indentation of G expression still fails, even if we have this thing here. Okay. Key value pair. Very simple one. Let's see how it fails. nginx context should be a list of expressions where each expression is also a list, but provided value is. For some reason, we didn't match here. Okay. Let's do format context. How to execute the particular test? I want to execute only one test. Let's call basic config, I guess. Okay, I didn't implement functionality for running a particular test, but it should work. It should work like this. Because basic config is actually a basic function, and if I execute this one and after that this one, it should execute the function. Why I don't want to execute it? I'm not sure. Okay, later we will need to implement this functionality because it looks quite useful. Okay, we somehow broke something. I broke something. Okay, I executed it and it works. And it works now. So we don't even need to implement this functionality because we can use this hack to execute a particular test. And also we can use a function which reruns failed tests. Okay, it works. But works a little different from what I need. It reruns tests from previous invocation of run model tests, and it doesn't care about the test I executed separately. So it will be not very useful for us right now. But okay, we have a context. Inside this context, we see this expression, and this expression didn't match the construction we had. Okay, let's extract this code. Or actually, we can just evaluate this code and extract only this one. And let's put it here. And instead of context, we will just write AB. What happened? CD. Good. Let's evaluate it. It of course should be quoted. Let's evaluate it, and during the evaluation we get the exception. And now we need to understand why it didn't match. Okay. Probably we need to do something like this, right? Nestness unbound variable 3. Now what? Another nestness 3. Good. Now it worked. And expressions parsed correctly. So I basically screwed up a pattern matching a little bit, and now it should look like this. Let's try one more time. Okay, we re-evaluated the whole namespace and executed all the tests, and everything now works again, but X fail. The test still fails. Okay, let's uncomment this one, which is maybe a solution. And indentation of the expression still fails. Let's run failed tests. Okay, rerun failed test doesn't re-evaluate expected to fail tests. It's also interesting to keep in mind. Let's make some notes. Notes. First of all, we don't have a function to run a particular test. The first no. The second one, we run failed tests doesn't care about direct test function invocation when we call function explicitly using eval and rerun failed tests doesn't care about xfail, which is okay as default behavior, but maybe we will want to have a prefix argument for this function, so we can treat xfail tests as failed and also re-evaluate them. Or actually we can just remove expectation to fail. But I will keep this note anyway. Let's let's find where our expectation, this one. We just can remove the expectation and reval failed tests. And now we can do like this. I call gither test rerun failed tests, and now it shows the only one interesting test for me. And it still fails. Still fails. Let's see how it fails. Expected vector got something else. Got this thing. Why it happens? Why it goes to the vector? Let's find out. We have our root context. After that we match it. Context body, expression, blah blah blah. Expressions. Very good. Serialize nginx expression, and inside expression sometimes we should get G expressions. Okay, let's see what we have. Format true. Nginx expression. And how it looks. Expr. Let's add a backslash in here. Let's rerun failed tests and see what happens here. Nginx expression. That's correct, that's correct, that's right. And here we have nginx expression looks like this. 1. Alright, we get a nested expression. And this nested expression should go to nginx context. Okay, maybe we want to make an even simpler test. So it will be easier to figuring out the things. And let's put let's just put a G expression here. Let's comment it. Oops. We don't have a closing bracket. We have. Okay. What happens? Okay. Let's re-evaluate it. Okay, it runs the all tests. We need to rerun model tests. Okay, and rerun failing tests. And it didn't fail. Okay. Why it didn't fail? Okay. Interesting. Let's do it. like this. What we will get? We will get a correct value. Cool. And let's make a nested context. And now we get an error. Cool. Here I expect to get something like this. I just made a simpler test so it's easier to find out the problems without spending our attention to already working parts. It's always honey, says great content. I'm curious if it is a bot or a real person. Okay. I guess we can figure out it later. It fails quite fast without any output. Why? Why it happens? It definitely should print something. Maybe I know the reason. Maybe I know the reason. But maybe not. What if we modify this part? If G expression we do our manual serialization like this one. Otherwise we call serialize nginx expression. It will be a little hacky, but maybe it will work or not. Okay, let's add some more stuff. Whoa. I need only one test here. Okay, let's also comment simple G expression so it doesn't distract us with additional output. Okay, we have a context and we have an nginx G expression. The context was the following. Okay, we matched it. We get a nested context. Okay, it seems it seems we get a list of lists, and one of those lists contains a J expression. Okay, I got it. It was a stupid mistake. We have those functions, and let's define them globally here and here. Here, when we match for a nested context, we can use something like this. The problem is that I fixed pattern matching here, but didn't fix it in the other place. Okay. Now we have something. Which is good. Rise as expression. It still fails, but how it fails? Let's see. Okay. Let's get back here and let's put the fix we had originally here. Like, which one we had? Wait is Jax, like this one. We had this one. How it looks? Looks almost good. It still idents for some reason. Why does it? I don't know. Okay, probably I know. Because it is a list of G expressions, I guess. What about okay, nginx expression? Why it didn't print an nginx expression? It should visit this stuff. So I guess I'm failing here with pattern matching. I see the context, but I don't see nginx expression. Why so? It should go inside it. It should go. Because if we come to the context, it either match it and call serialize nginx expression, or rise this one. Very, very interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, probably there's some reloading problem. Oh, actually not. Actually not. Actually we see the output here. Okay, the problem is that I didn't put a backslash in here, so I didn't see a separate line for the nginx expression. Okay, there is no problem. There is no reloading problem. Everything is okay. I just printed it incorrectly. Okay, we get nginx expression like this. But we already entered this context. We can work around it here. We can work around it here like this. If J expression serialize with nestness 0, otherwise serialize it with correct nestness. But it didn't work because something. Okay, because we have a liner here already. This is experiment driven development. I just try to put random things at random places and hope that something will work. I do it not very often. Sometimes I prefer to actually reason about how the code works. But right now I am too tired to do it, so I just try different approaches, which looks reasonable but maybe not very reasonable. A liner of 0. Oh, actually it worked. If we remove this one. Oh, okay. Which one failed? Okay, everything works. That's cool, that's cool. Everything works. Let's uncomment original test. This one. Simple indentation of J expression. Okay, and this test fails. Fails why? Actually, it should be two spaces here. Yeah, and it should be a semicolon at the end. That's right. That's right. It was just incorrect test. Cool. Mixed. Okay, let's keep it advanced identification object expressions. That's very cool. We actually implemented the test and we didn't break anything else. And I didn't even need to actually think deep about the way it implemented. I just tried random things and at the end it works. And I still sure that this code works in all other cases, in almost all other cases, because it's covered with tests, not completely, but extensively enough to be sure it still works. Okay, we fixed it, and we didn't fix those tasks. We didn't come to those tasks because we already spent a lot of time on the first one. But I'm quite happy that we did it at least. And I think I can finish it, at least this one, quite quickly. Just we'll check that all most important cases are covered by tests and commit them and the implementation itself. So nginx service type is probably a topic either for other stream, and maybe I will even start to work on it a little earlier than the next stream. And I think let's make a conclusion. Let's make a small conclusion. I have a predefined conclusion already. First of all is about short feedback loop. As you can see, using REPL-driven development and test-driven development with integration in REPL and emacs, I get very short feedback loop, and it makes the development really enjoyable. And that's a complete true, and not only enjoyable, but also more efficient. The second thing that tools for Guile involves, and you can see that integration of test-driven development workflow in emacs works quite well. It has some sharp edges and requires some work, but already very usable. And the last take will be about test-driven development. Test-driven development allows to offload part of your thoughts according to the code you are implementing. So I don't need to think about all the details because they covered by the tests and they automatically tested, and we ensure that nothing breaks after the changes, and I can focus on a very particular part of functionality, and I can even try different things which maybe make no sense, maybe make a little sense, but in the right direction, done in the right direction, and check every time if now it works or not. It's like trial and error approach without really deep thinking about overall structure. And I will write it down like test-driven development allows to offload the big picture to tests and focus on very specific part. That's a cool property. I didn't think about it before, but as you can see from today's stream and how we approach this problem, it's very true. Hello Artem, we already finishing the stream. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on the next stream. Don't hesitate to ask questions via IRC or email, and see you in a bit.